All right, everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm more than a little nervous. We put our heart and soul into making this movie, and it really means a lot that all you guys are here. I'm very, very touched that you've got such a nice turnout for this thing. So let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room right off the bat. How many people know absolutely nothing about Highlander? You've never seen the movie, you've never seen the TV series, the animated series, nothing.
There was an animated series?
Yeah.
It
Okay,
was based off the
so
second Lucy.
very funny. Okay, so quite a few. Okay, so this is not meant as a standalone film. This is a complement to the TV series. So if you know absolutely nothing about Highlander, you should be able to follow what's going on relatively reasonably, but you're not going to be quite as invested because you don't know anything about the characters. There's not quite as much character development if you haven't seen the series, etc., etc., etc.
It's a prequel.
So, I'll just give you kind of a quick synopsis. Highlander is about people who live forever unless they get their heads cut off.
Will he get to cut his head off?
I'm not going to tell you. You got to watch the movie. Basically, what happens is the person doing the beheading gets all the knowledge and strength from the person that they have beheaded, and it makes them more powerful. So the bad guys in the Highlander universe are trying to kill as many immortals as they can because it makes them more and more and more powerful. And then, of course, in the end, there can be only one. And that person is going to have all the power, strength, and knowledge of all the immortals who've ever lived for centuries. So the bad guys are after that power, and the good guys basically just want to live and let live and just kind of, live peacefully. But the ones who want to survive train hard because they know that somebody is going to be after them. So that's basically a very quick synopsis of what this is about. This movie focuses on characters from the TV show. Duncan MacLeod, who was born in 1592. Tessa Noel, who's his girlfriend, who he's been living with for the past 12 years.
Who is mortal, not
And
not.
the very first woman that he ever loved, back in the early 1600s, Deborah Campbell. The gal who played Deborah is not here tonight, and I'm hoping that she shows up sometime during this thing. Anyway, how am I going to put this? What's a good way to summarize the Deborah Campbell situation?
Before he became, you didn't say anything about becoming immortal.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Duncan has loved Deborah basically his whole life. He fell in love with her when he was a kid, and she ended up getting betrothed through the clan to his cousin Robert, even though Deborah and Duncan are the ones that loved each other. So Robert obviously wasn't very happy about that, challenged Duncan to a duel. Duncan killed him in self-defense. He felt awful about it because that was his best friend for his entire life. And rather than marry Deborah with the blood of Robert on his hands, he opted to leave the clan. Well, Deborah was heartbroken with this and went to jump off a cliff, and Duncan talked her out of it, swore that he'd marry her if she stayed, and then the ground gave way from underneath her and she fell to her death.
Oh no.
So that's kind of where our story picks up. My story is basically a spin-off. What if that death caused Deborah to become immortal? The way you become immortal is you're basically born with the gene, but nothing happens unless you have some kind of violent death. And then that triggers it, and then you are that age for the rest of forever. So you can die in a car wreck, you can get shot, something along those lines. But if something like that doesn't happen, then you just grow old and die like everybody else. So there aren't a whole lot of immortals around. But anyway, that's basically what the series is about in a nutshell, and what my movie is about in a nutshell. So anyway, all of my main actors that are here tonight, could you get up here, please? That would be you two. We've got a couple people that aren't here tonight that I just want to recognize real quick. Brandy Dixon played Deborah Campbell, and that was the most demanding role in this movie by a long shot. So kudos to her for getting through that. And then Sebastian Jordan, who has one scene in the movie, and boy did he do it well.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Him and Hoff choreographed the fight in 2 hours. And then they went out there and performed it, and I filmed it, and it was fantastic. Boy, was he good. Who else is not here?
Well,
Anthony Brewster. He plays a love of Deborah Campbell in a flashback, and also
Immortal love.
No, he's immortal.
It's immortal.
A mortal. Not an immortal, just a regular guy that falls in love with her. And he's also only in one scene, but man, he was good. Boy, we were really blessed with some fantastic people on this project. Everybody has a few things in common. They came into this project knowing nothing about acting, nothing about fight choreography, nothing about swordplay, or nothing about any of those three things. But they all also have one very important thing in common, is that they were dedicated to this project. Everybody showed up on filming day, everybody gave it everything they had, and I really hope that comes across in the final product. I've only seen the entire movie once, and I think it's fantastic. I'm so proud of the work that we've done. Hoff plays the main villain. And,
Spoiler.
well, there's no spoiler. He is so good.
He has experience acting.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of acting experience, and boy, does he play a good bad guy. He's always had the wicked laugh. Do the wicked laugh. Yes, that. And him and I also used to sword fight a lot when we were in our 20s, and that paid off in the final fight big time. We choreographed and shot the final fight of this movie in 90 minutes. And I wish it was a little bit longer. Oh, it looks, what we put together, it looks fantastic.
Really good.
We were always fighting the clock on this movie. Every time we tried to put a shooting day together, somebody had something going on, and then we have to back it up another week. And then somebody else would have something going on, and then we have to back it up another week.
Whether it's work or
So,
con or
yeah,
play that Hoff was in.
It took about 15 days to make this film, and we had to shoot it over the course of 18 months. Wow. Because of weather or schedule restrictions or whatever. For those watching on YouTube, if you don't know what it takes to make a fan film, I don't know what to tell you.
It's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, basically, we have no money, so, making props is very limited. We can't get closed sets, so we've got people walking in and out of our set all the time, so that every time somebody walks through the camera, we gotta cut it and reshoot.
Airplanes.
Lots of airplanes. We rented a property out in the middle of nowhere to try and knock out as many scenes in the movie as we could, and nobody told us that there was a flight academy right next door. So they had airplanes taking off every 2 minutes. And we had the whole weekend to shoot. We shot 2.5 days out there.
Most of the movie.
And every single take, and then we gotta cut and wait for the plane to go away. Shoot, shoot, shoot! We can't hear anything. Shoot again, shoot again. And then of course somebody would flub their lines, or there'd be a mess up, and then we have to do it again. And then, oh man! And then we shot a scene out here in the parking lot.
There's chickens next door.
The guy next door had chickens that were going crazy. There was a car alarm that went off. We had some guy pull into the parking lot asking if the cars were for sale. We had some guy driving by honking his horn at us. Every single time something like that happened, we'd have to cut and reshoot, cut and reshoot, cut and reshoot. So what you see on screen, every single scene is only a few minutes long, and we're talking
Hours.
3 hours, 4 hours. The final scene of the movie, we spent 4 days filming, probably somewhere around 16 hours out there, and then of course you got to worry about the weather matching up correctly with the last part that you just filmed, or he showed up with a beard when he was clean shaven the last time we filmed, and then
I was playing the devil, it was a goatee.
yeah. So I had to run home and get him some shaving stuff so that he could shave real quick, and then we could run out and shoot. So I mean, getting this together is an incredible, incredible challenge. This is the second film that I've made, and we ran into the same problems in the first film. But when you're hard-headed enough, you find ways to overcome it. And I'm hoping that that shows in the product here. Just editing it. I've probably got 250 hours into the movie, just editing it, not counting writing it, shooting it, any of that stuff. So
We don't have the greatest of computers to work on in the
Yeah.
first place.
everybody up here put their heart and soul into this movie, and I'm just hoping that you guys can share in the final product, because I, for one, am very, very proud of it, and I hope you guys see it, that you are too. So a couple of other shout-outs I want to make right off the top of the head. One to Mark Bittner, who cast Duncan MacLeod's sword that I used in this film. It looks exactly like the one in the TV series. He did a phenomenal job on it, and without that prop, well, the movie wouldn't look quite as good. I mean, it's those kinds of details that separate this film from normal fan films. Anthony DeLongis. Shannon and I actually had a chance to go and visit Mr. DeLongis this past year and train with him in person, which was phenomenal. He actually starred in a few episodes of the TV series, and the fight between him and Adrian Paul is probably one of the best sword fights ever caught on camera.
One of my favorites.
In the 90s, I picked up a couple of VHSs that he made called Rapier for the Stage and Screen and Broadsword for the Stage and Screen. Those two videos taught me everything that I know about fight choreography, and I put those to good use in this film. Who else? Somebody else that's not here? Yeah. God was on our side in this film. I've always believed that if you do your part, God will meet you the other half of the way. And yeah, a lot of things just beautifully fell into place on this film. There's a scene on the beach where Shannon flew the drone to get some footage. And not only did she do a fantastic job and we had fantastic weather, but the beach that day was crawling with people. And then, of course, once we started the sword fighting out there, everybody wanted to check out and see what we were doing. We managed to make the beach look completely deserted.
No one in the video.
Yeah. And
we didn't have the best of weather. It was really windy.
yeah, the drone actually crashed at one point because the wind blew it right out of the sky. But it's still one piece, so everything's fine. But yeah, lots and lots of obstacles. So we're just really glad to be
Especially
here.
with the editing done by Wes. It looks amazing.
Editing is killer. I spent about 5 hours just doing the end credits. Incidentally, there is a scene after the end credits, so please hold your applause until then, or your boos, or whatever. I also want to thank the church for hosting this event. I worked with Pastor Ryan over there to get all this going.
It's amazing church.
Yeah.
Amazing people.
We absolutely love it here. There's also one other person that I want to thank real quick, Damani. You want to come up here? You guys can take a seat.
Let me write your mine's right there.
Noah.
Oh, no, okay.
Sorry, Damani, you sit down. Noah, you need to come up here. I tasked Noah with a very, very difficult chore. I heard him play at Christmas one year, and his piano playing was absolutely, it made me cry just listening to it. And I'm like, this is the guy I need for my film. The original TV show has a lot of piano solos by a guy named Roger Bell. He's a French fellow. And it's very, very moving. It really brings the emotion out in the show. And there are several pieces that I wanted for the film because I actually use music from the series and from the films in my film because I believe that helps it be more authentic. So I asked Noah to basically make a duplicate of some of the pieces from the TV show where I couldn't get rid of the audio and I wasn't able to find it online anywhere. So I basically cut him a piece of the TV show and said, can you give me this piano piece just solo so I can use it in my movie? And he said, sure. And not only did he do everything that I asked him to do, but he also made a few original pieces that sound like they should be from the show. And boy, they are amazing. One thing I learned when I was making my Indiana Jones film is you can take an absolutely awful scene and add some good music, and all of a sudden the scene becomes awesome. There was a very awkward kissing scene in the Indiana Jones film that looked absolutely terrible until I added John Williams music to it. And I think we've got this again here. There are very few times where my expectations for a film are actually surpassed, just because there's so many limitations in what you can do in a fan film. And Noah, here are my expectations, and Noah just blew it out of the water to
Agreed.
And the film would not be the same without you, sir. So thank you very much for all your hard work that you put into it. Very glad that you're here. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Ryan, who is our gracious host for the evening. Ryan is the pastor of this church, and he graciously allowed us to show the movie here tonight. For those of you in the audience who are not regular churchgoers, I'm sure you have your opinions on what a church is normally like. I can tell you that this church breaks all of those molds. It doesn't matter what race you are, your sexual preference. This place is going to love you, whether you like it or not. And it is so amazing to be a part of this church. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am to be here. Shannon just had surgery 10 days ago, and she's barely been able to get out of bed until today. So I'm very glad that you're here, dear. And this church created a food train for her, where we had people from the church bringing her food every single day so that she could have good meals while she was getting better.
Because my husband isn't the best to cook.
Because I'm a terrible cook.
And plus,
Anyway,
he
I
needs
just
more
wanted
time.
to turn it over to Ryan here real quick for some quick words, and then we'll get started. Thanks for having us here.
Would everyone please give it up for Wes and the whole team? One of the things I just have to say from the front, the reason why our church is the way that we are is because Jesus made us that way.
Yes.
We just try to replicate what he did, which is to love people wherever they're at. So if you're ever looking for a community church, quick plug, this is your home too. The reason why we are showing this movie here tonight is because it was made by our family. And I commonly go by the moniker, your friendly neighborhood pastor. I just wanted you to know that's who I am to you too. If you ever need support, encouragement, prayer, just want to talk, want to rage at me and tell me how horrible Christians are, I'll listen. Because I firmly believe that's what Jesus would do. I think the thing that makes Highlander compelling is some of the themes that the show and the movies try to tackle. I think as we go through day-to-day life, it does feel like it's a very competitive environment, and around any corner might be somebody waiting to chop your head off. I also think that we strive for immortality, self-improvement, that we want to live a life that is adventurous, that goes beyond what we see every day. As Christians, that is a life that we lead. Except it's all in reverse. Instead of one person running around killing a whole bunch of folk to make himself more powerful, somebody died to take care of us. It's not so that immortality can go to one person, it's so that immortality can go to everybody. He changes everything. I would not be the man that I am if it weren't for Jesus Christ. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Jesus Christ, I would not be alive standing here today. Literally saved my life. I can count on at least 4 occasions where I should be not breathing. So, when I say that Jesus is real and that he loves you, I mean it. As for the film tonight, I had a quote, one of my favorites, from Teddy Roosevelt come to mind. And I just hope the cast will hear this and that it be an encouragement to you. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who actually does strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. You guys have poured your heart and soul into this. That in and of itself is a victory. Wes asked that I pray for us before we get going, and then I'm going to run upstairs, and without any further gilding the lily, we're going to, as they say in a down periscope, kick this pig. So, we're just going to pray real quick. Lord, I just pray for everybody here tonight that you would bless them, that you would bless their homes, that you would bless their careers, that you would bless their families, that you would bring about great things in their lives. Lord, that they would know you, that you would change them from the inside out and give them the hope that you've given me and my family. Lord, we thank you tonight for every blessing that you give us. We thank you that we can come here in your house and watch some dudes cut off other dudes' heads. We love you tonight. We thank you. In your holy name. Amen. All right, I'm going to run upstairs. We're going to dim the lights, and we are going to kick this pig.
You guys want to come up here and take a bow? Let's hear it for our cast, guys. So for those that don't know, the car. In the TV show, Duncan MacLeod drives a 1964 Thunderbird. I have wanted that car for 20-some years, and I bought it a couple years ago, and it's in the movie. And I wrote an origin story of how he gets the car to stick it in there. So Highlander fans are going to love that. Oh, boy, that movie really gets me in the feels. I love it. I love everything about it. The music is amazing. How many people here have ever been in an abusive relationship? I know a lot of you have. And it really hits home. The character of George Cardos was written after my stepfather, whose name was George. Everything about this villain was taken to the extreme, but for people that have been in that kind of relationship, I'm sure that all of them could see something in that character that hurts them on a very personal level. I think that's one of the reasons I love this movie so much. And the other thing I love about it is, in 1 hour, I was able to capture on film everything about what it means to me to be a warrior. It's about love and sacrifice and doing the right thing, no matter what the odds are, no matter who's against you. You need to step out there and get it done. And that's just a very personal message for me. A couple of people I forgot to give a shout out to earlier. John Boyer did the effects for the quickening, the lightning effects, and I thought those came out really, really cool. And Lisa Go, who is not here tonight for whatever the reason, I don't even know, but she was the used car salesperson at the beginning of the show.
It's one of my good friends.
She'd had zero acting experience, and I could not stop her from looking at the camera after every take. Please do not look at the camera. Gotta reshoot it. Oh, she looked at the camera again. Gotta reshoot it. With newbies, that happens all the time. As soon as they're done with their scene, they go, like, please do not do that. It ruins the take. Hold. So, does anybody have any questions about what they just saw? Comments, concerns?
Not sure if you mentioned this before, but how long did it take to edit out all the people on the beach scene?
Just that beach scene probably took me 20 to 25 hours.
Dang.
Shannon basically flew the drone the whole time, and Brandy and I just kind of went at it. We didn't even have time to choreograph anything. We just kind of went out there and said, okay, let's do this. And when we got home, there was a mountain of footage. I'm like, oh, geez, we can hardly use any of this, because people kept walking by, or the camera would spin one way and show like the horde of people on the beach. That's why in the final product, the camera's pointed at the ocean most of the time, so that you couldn't see the mess of people on the beach. And as it panned over for like that running scene, as it panned over, I went frame by frame by frame until I got, oh, there's a guy's foot, and then I went back one frame and cut it right there. And then we slow-moed it so I could drag it out a little bit more. I mean, we had to do a whole bunch of crazy, creative things to make that work, but that is probably the best scene that I have ever captured on camera. And
It's beautiful.
Shannon did a fantastic job on that. She flew the drone for that whole thing, and if you look very, very closely, there's a scene where the camera spins around me and Brandy, and it shows her in the background behind some rocks going like this, flying the drone. And I purposely left that in the movie just as a little Easter egg, because she did such a good job. I just felt that she needed to be recognized in
I
that
would
scene.
say that's my favorite, with the ocean and.
Yeah, and the
it was my
music and
first
everything,
time
oh, it just came
driving a
together
drone.
so beautifully. And,
I'd never driven a drone before. I flew a drone before. That
Well,
was my
you
first
did a
time.
beautiful-
yeah, we had zero practice, and we paid $300 for the jump for the drone, and we were flying it over the ocean, and I'm just like, if anything goes wrong, it's just gonna fall right in the water, and we're never gonna see it again. And it's like, please, just work it out.
And the wind went up really, really high, and it was like making the drone go like this. And I kept getting warnings, and I'm like trying to keep it, circling. And every once in a while, it would just like go off course. I'm just like, oh my
And then, of
god.
course, it was footage that we couldn't use because then the camera would jerk, and it's
Yep.
like, oh, there goes that one. The drone is literally only like this big, and it was high wind that day, and it flew so well. For those that are interested in a drone, it was a DJI Mavic Mini, and
When it
Boy.
fell out, and I tried catching it because I'm not very bright, and sliced my finger on it. Luckily, that was the end of the flying. So
yeah, when that happened, I was like, yep, we're done. We got enough, and
I was bleeding and stuff. It was
Wow.
horrible.
yeah.
And the music that you sent.
What beach?
Yeah.
Oceanside. Yeah, the music, for those that don't know, that's Bonnie Portmore by Lorena McKenna, and that is a very trademark Highlander song.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But yeah, there's many, many different versions of it. One is played in season 4, one of it is played in Endgame. That particular one is from Highlander 3, and that rendition of it is my favorite, so that's what I used in the film. In fact, that whole montage scene was fashioned after the training montage scene in Highlander 3. Another question.
When will you be releasing the bloopers?
Yeah, I wanted to show the bloopers here, but we're in church and there was a lot of cursing. So, the bloopers are going to be on YouTube.
When we post the movie,
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be. I'm really, really busy right now, but we're going to try and get that out soon. Maybe
As soon as we can.
10 days, 2 weeks, something like that.
and the bloopers will come right out.
Yeah, all the shenanigans in the parking lot I was talking about earlier with the chickens squawking and all that, that's in the blooper reel. You can see it for yourselves. Question?
Deborah Campbell's accent was convincing. Is that a real accent or?
No? Yeah, for the flashback we had to do Scottish accents. I know mine's terrible, but hers ended up turning out pretty good, so thank you.
I thought you did a good job. Your accent was good too.
I tried. Putting on that kilt. Holy smokes.
It was an actual,
Yeah, it was an actual kilt that I bought offline.
It's just a
but
big piece of fabric.
yeah, it's a
That's all it
monstrous
is.
piece of fabric, and you have to fold it just right, and then you have to lie down in it, and wrap yourself up in it. And
Yeah, those pleats do not come with it. You have to do that.
I think we spent, for the opening scene with the grave, I think we tried 45 minutes to get into that thing. Oh, there's another great story behind that too. We were out there digging the grave, because I built the gravestone out of insulation board. It was just like a few pieces of insulation board that was glued together, and then I took a Dremel to it and carved it up to make it kind of look nice, and then I spray painted it and all that stuff. But we had to still like go out there and dig the grave. Well, we went out there. It was at Noblewoods Park, which is I don't know, 10 miles from here or something like that. And
5 miles.
there was a group out there doing a wedding photo shoot. So they're all out there dressed to the nines, taking pretty pictures, and we're behind them. And they were just looking over like, what are those guys doing over there? But when you're at when it's a no-budget film, that's just kind of the stuff that you run into. You just kind of have to.
Yeah, and that was like a small hike into the park too.
Yeah,
It wasn't like in the
I mean,
front or anything.
there are no closed sets. You just have to go out there and hope for the best. We actually did a sword experience with Adrian Paul a few weeks ago. Adrian Paul plays the Highlander, the TV show.
Yeah, he's done in the cloud.
Yeah, and we went and trained with him back in mid-November, and he put together a fight video on the roof of the Museum of Glass up in Tacoma, Washington. And it was funny, because he was up there getting all furious with the camera because people kept walking through the background. He's like, yep, I know how that goes.
The video turned out all right, though.
Yeah, it did.
Where's that? Can people see that?
Yeah, that's on the Sword Experience channel on YouTube. And Shannon and I are in that video,
Yep, we're in it.
wearing my Highlander jacket, which you really got mad about.
Post the link-
We
Can
broke
you
them.
post the link to that YouTube video on your Facebook or send it to
Yeah, I can share it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I can't copy it because it's
Yeah,
his stuff,
his
but
stuff.
I can put the link on there, yeah.
Yeah, we can put it, we could just post it as a link on Facebook for everybody. That'll work. And I'll share it on mine too, so.
Good.
Please tell me you're not painting that car black.
Yes.
Yes.
The car was black in the show.
Yeah,
It's
we're
going
No,
to
no, no.
it's going to look exactly like the car in the show.
Yeah,
Although the car in the show is a convertible, I did not want to get a convertible because we live in Oregon where it rains a lot. And when you're talking about a '64 convertible, there's always problems with the motor to make the thing go over, or there's a tear in it, and it's like $10,000 just to replace that section that goes up and down. So I'm like,
Yeah, so we've
Not gonna
got
do
the
that.
non-convertible.
and in my opinion, it's a lot cuter with the top up anyway.
Yeah.
So I went out and got a hard top. And that's another funny story. I found it on eBay, and I threw a bid out there. I'm like, I'm never going to win this car. It already ran, and it was drivable and everything, and it was in Minnesota. And I threw out a $5,000 bid. I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this car for that amount. And I won the bid for $4,300. And then I had to go to Shannon and say,
Oops, I didn't tell you, but I
I just got a car.
on eBay, which I already
Yeah.
knew from selling stuff on eBay myself. Getting the shipping for a car is horrible, which he soon found out, and I would have told him that.
And it absolutely was. It took 7 months to get the car shipped over to me, and about $1,500.
And there's a lot of scams out there for
Mhm.
shipping.
I had to go through 3 different companies and all sorts of crazy stuff. And they kept, the first company I dealt with said, oh, we'll get it for you for $900. And then they're like, oh, well, it's going to cost a lot more than that, sorry. So yeah, right now it's at my friend Lyle's house up in Vancouver, and we are doing a complete restoration on it. We've got the seats reupholstered, we've got a new carpet for it. Boy, it's going to look fancy. We even got a radio to put in it that looks like the old '64 radio, but it's got a USB in the back of it, so you can plug in a USB and listen to Disney songs if you want to. So, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. But it has to be black because it's a prop from the TV show.
I have dreamed of that car for my entire life.
Otherwise, it'd be pink.
It would be pink. But she actually ad-libbed that for the final scene because she thought it was cute, so we left it in the movie.
Any other questions?
Wes, I have to ask you a couple of questions.
Mhm.
When did you first decide that you were going to start making movies? And then also, will there be another sequel to this? Will you do another one later on?
Yes, I have a sequel written for my Indiana Jones film and a sequel written for this film. I don't know when I'm going to get around to those. It takes a lot of work to put one of these together, and lots of nightmares and headaches. When we're actually out there on shooting day, it's awesome. But all the stuff you got to do behind the scenes, oh, it's just terrible. For movies, there's a long story behind that. The Indiana Jones movie was my first film, and I was getting weekly lessons from the Mormon missionaries that were coming over to my house. And they told me about the golden plates. And I was like, oh, that'd be a cool, MacGuffin for Indiana Jones to go after. And like 15 years later, I told a photographer friend of mine about it. And he's like, dude, you got to make a movie about that. And we can make that scene where, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's running down the hill and all the Jovitos are chasing him. We can do that, but he's going to be chased by a bunch of Mormons. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is happening. So I wrote out the whole script for it, and one of my other friends was like, what if the main bad guy was Mitt Romney's grandpa? That'd be funny. So then we did that too, and I actually started doing some research on Mitt Romney's grandpa. And like, the whole storyline just kind of fell into place. Most of it is actually historically accurate, which is weird. Generally, when you take a historical artifact of some kind and put a little twist on it, that's what you get for an Indiana Jones film. Well, by the time I'd written the script, it only took me 3 weeks to write the script on my phone, because I just pumped the whole thing out. Like, it just kind of fell into place by itself. And then we were ready to shoot. Well, people being as reliable as they are, the entire cast and crew dropped out of it. And I had to replace everybody, because once it was actually done, people flaked out. So, I mean, to make one of these things, you really have to have an iron will. But when the Indiana Jones film was done, I figured that was just going to be a one-and-done thing. But we had so much fun making that. It's not just the final product. It's all the memories that are created while we're making the product. Agreed?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we had a blast making this film too. And it's not just what you guys see on screen. It's all the memories we have from making the dream a reality that you just can't replace. I kind of feel like I missed my calling in life. I love making movies. I love doing action stuff. I love doing my own stunts.
He's a pretty good writer, too.
You did an awesome job.
Yeah, you write things that you care about. And I mean, everything in this film is stuff that really, really touches my heart in all sorts of different ways. And
He actually teared up in the movie, in those scenes.
yeah, that scene where I say goodbye to Deborah, I actually cried there. And I wrote that dialogue as if I was saying goodbye to somebody that I love. And it came together just so well. And then that music that Noah wrote for the final scene.
Yeah, that was the piece that Noah wrote when you said
Yeah,
goodbye.
I mean, between what's going on screen and the music that Noah wrote, it hits home every time I see it.
Can we have a hand for Noah? I think that's-
Yeah. The two original pieces that Noah wrote for the film are basically how I bookended the film. The scene with the grave at the very beginning, Noah wrote that music. That's original music written by him. And the final scene where I say goodbye to Deborah, he wrote that as well.
Beautiful.
And it just sounds so good. Man, it just pulls at your heartstrings so beautifully.
I heard him play it at the house and cried just from that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
He's just that good. I mean, we were very, very blessed to have him take part in this movie. The minute I heard him play the piano at Christmas, I was like, dude, do you want to write some music for my film? He was like, sure. And then
He kind of started that song from the TV show. It was a really, really touching moment in one of our favorite episodes. And he wanted the song, like I said, without...
Studies in Light. is the
Yes,
name of the episode.
Studies in Light. And he wanted it without, the dialogue and everything, because he couldn't find the music without dialogue. And so we asked him, he's like, no, can you play this? And he just kind of, on a whim, was doing it. He's really good about hearing and then playing. He's a genius.
I actually showed the scene to him at the house, and Esther cried just from watching the scene. And I'm like, that's what I want for my movie right there. I want that kind of emotional impact. And Noah delivered.
Yeah,
Boy,
once he did that song
I
for
mean,
us.
he surpassed my expectations so much. It just,
Yes.
there are two things that really surpassed my expectations by a landslide. His music and the beach scene. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I just feel like we were really, really blessed to have that kind of good fortune and, question? Okay.
Oh, hold on. I think I know right there.
Yes?
There's a lot of other stuff besides just the movie, because you had to get permission from the singers, you had to get permission from the guy that wrote the Highlander, did you, or?
Nope.
So we're not making money off this.
Yeah, what happens with that is it goes on YouTube, and then you get a copyright flag from the people that wrote that music or whatever. When I put out the Indiana Jones movie, I used all of John Williams' music from all 4 previous films. And when I put that movie on YouTube, it got like 50 flags from like every single piece of music that I used in the movie.
And so what happens is that they get paid for people watching it and not us.
That
Same
is
with this-
absolutely correct.
Same with
So
this movie.
the Indiana Jones movie, I didn't make a dime off of it. Disney's making a mint.
And you wouldn't after this either, because you didn't get permission?
That is correct. The music, the money from this movie, for however many views it gets on YouTube or whatever, the money is going to go towards Lorena McKinnon and Queen And also probably the fellow that wrote the Highlander theme at the very beginning, where the dialogue comes up and I'm...
But that's okay with us because this is our passion. We're not doing this to make money.
Yeah.
We're doing this because it's just our passion. We love to do it.
If we did it for the money, we'd be out of a job. Because, I mean, we don't make nearly enough money off of this to...
Yeah, we were scraping just to get, you know, outfits and props
Yeah,
and stuff like
and
that.
that's one of the reasons that it takes so long to make one of these movies, because, I mean, you have to budget for the props. So it's like you set aside a little bit of money every month so that you can go out and buy a sword for somebody. I wanted to get all metal swords for this film, but the sword that I used in this film was $300, and I already had it. So when it came time to get swords for the whole crew, I was like, there's no way I could do this. And Hoff showed up with that foam sword that Sebastian ended up using for our first take, and I'm like, this sword is really, really flimsy. There's no way, because Hoff had the honor and privilege of taking part in every sword fight in this film, and I was very jealous. I do all the sword fighting. So the sword that Hoff uses is a synthetic sword used for HEMA fighting. For those that don't know what HEMA is, it stands for Historical European Martial Arts, and I'm usually taking part in that every week. There's a whole bunch of HEMA fights on my YouTube channel for those that want to check those out. But it's basically real sword fighting where you're using metal weapons that have no edge on them, and then you basically just armor up and go at it. I love sword fighting. There's no better workout out there.
At all in fighting?
Oh yeah, I've been sword fighting since I was in diapers.
Well, not you, the one has to.
Yes.
He's been fighting ever since they were young.
Yeah.
Play fighting, but yeah.
Yeah, me and Hoff met each other in our early 20s. I was probably in my mid-20s, because you're younger than me. And yeah, this was back before they had proper HEMA gear and all that stuff. So we just go out there and beat each other to death. We're probably lucky that we're not dead. But it sure was fun.
I mean, it was like Fight Club with a sword.
One time he broke, or he hurt his hand on my eye. I was very proud of that.
Yeah, there was also that time that I nearly put Adam's eye out. Remember that one?
Yeah.
After that, that was the last time we fought with no armor. I'm like, okay. He could have died from that. I think we should probably find some gear or something. But yeah, me and my best friend Lynn used to do that a lot too with wooden bogans, which is basically a wooden katana that weighs like 3 times what an actual katana does. And when you get hit on the hands with that, whoo, boy, it hurts. I almost broke a finger a couple of times. But yeah, it's just my passion. I've always loved sword fighting ever since Mom took me to see Return of the Jedi in 1983. Luke Skywalker was my hero, and I thought the lightsaber duels in that movie were the coolest thing I ever saw. And from that moment on, I wanted to be a swordsman. And then Leonardo came along from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that just cemented the deal.
He actually had a class at one point that he taught. He taught other kids.
Yeah, back when I lived in Newburgh, I taught people how to do martial arts and stuff like that.
What's next?
What's next? For like my career as a movie maker, or
Well, like he said, he did have the sequel to Indiana Jones and a sequel to this one written, but we're kind of busy at the moment, so we're going to have to see how things go.
yeah, the plan for right now is I'm going to take a little break from full-length features just because
And take care of me.
it makes a guy go gray doing these things. I mean, you show up on shooting day and you just hope that everybody else is prepared as you are. I mean, I make lists of everything that needs to be bought like the week before, just so that when we go out there, it's like, uh-oh, I forgot something. And then you got to run back to the house, and then a bunch more time is wasted. I mean, you're always fighting the clock with these things. My plan moving forward is to take a little break. I'm going to do a series of Resident Evil shorts that are basically just comedy, spoof, skit type things, where we can shoot the whole thing with 4 people and do it in one day.
And also, possibly make a little money off YouTube.
Yeah, since we won't be dealing with copyrighted music or anything. I'm gonna make a handful of those and then just kind of reevaluate where the crew is at, and then
Just have some fun.
we're either gonna move forward with the next Indiana Jones film or the sequel to this, depending on where the crew is at
cast.
and how prepared they are.
Yeah. Depending on who we can get for the cast. 'Cause it's
This
really-
one took less time than the last one
It has
because,
less people.
well, it wasn't just that. I was not prepared. I shot for the stars in the Indiana Jones film, and during the course of making that film, I realized what the limitations are of a fan filmmaker. I didn't even start editing it until we completely shot the whole thing because I had somebody else who said they were going to edit it. And then when the movie was done, I went to them and they're like, oh yeah, I haven't even started the project yet, and I'm leaving for school, so bye-bye. So I was like, okay, well, this is just going to happen again and again and again. So I taught myself how to use an editor, which was a fantastic thing, because now I know how to do like every single scene to make it look exactly the way I want it to.
And this movie is like leagues better than edited than Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Because that was his first.
Yeah, and I figured out how to do camera angles and what I can and can't do for special effects. And
Yeah, we actually were expecting to have special effects more on the Indiana Jones. And so, especially the opening scene.
the opening scene is a train wreck.
Yeah. One, it was the old camera that I broke, thank goodness, because it was terrible.
Yeah, the clarity on it was awful, the audio was awful, everything about it was awful. And then she broke it vacuuming after I'd shot 2 scenes of the movie. I'm like, oh. And then I got that one, and that one shoots way, way better. So, like, her breaking that camera was a godsend for her. Anything else? I think we've covered just about everything.
Anybody?
Go ahead.
What got you started wanting to learn how to do film and all that?
Oh, geez. Okay, so the question is, what inspired me to start making movies? Well, I don't know. I always wrote stories when I was a kid. That was kind of my thing.
Yeah, I have a
And,
folder almost of his
Yeah, I
stories.
always liked playing with my X-Men or my G.I. Joes or whatever. And then as I got older, I got into cosplay, and that seemed like a way to bring the characters to life. And it was lots of fun. And then we started doing, when I met Shannon, we started doing like photo shoots and things like that. But then I realized, you know, I could combine both of those things with my storytelling and the cool costumes and make movies. The Indiana Jones one, like I said, was supposed to be a one and done thing, but we just had so much fun doing it. And I'm really, really happy with the final product, even though it's got its shortcomings because we didn't really know what we were doing. But with this one just came together so well. I mean, it is a lot of work. I mean, it's going to be 2 years minimum for like every single one of those. But it's just a blast. I mean, when you talk to Hollywood people about the movies they've made, like you talk to Harrison Ford about the Indiana Jones movies, he's like, I always want to make another one just because they're so much fun to make. And they are. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a ridiculous amount of work, especially when you're writing it, directing it, and editing it all by yourself. I mean, I'm like an army of one. Once we're done shooting, it's just me, and everybody else just gets to sit around and twiddle their thumbs and wait for the final product to come out. But
And the cast we ended up with in Indiana Jones was such a good cast. We had a real big problem of getting extras. That was, in fact, he
yeah,
even
the
played
extras keep on
he
bailing.
played an extra and fought himself.
Yeah, I got in a gunfight with myself in Indiana Jones film because we had so few extras that I had to double as an extra to make the scene work
But the
out.
people that we did work with were wonderful people, and it was just so great.
Yeah,
Just
same
like
thing
this
with
movie, it's just
Yeah.
the people are just so wonderful.
For the record, both Damani and Hoff were in the Indiana Jones film too, if you guys want to check that out.
I'm not. I'm in the bloopers though.
Yeah, Shannon, I actually wanted her to be the love interest for the Indiana Jones film, and she was too camera shy. For those that don't know, she has agoraphobia and is really timid and hesitant.
That's why I'm
about
fidgeting up here a
getting
lot.
out in front of people. And when we did this film, I really, really wanted her to be Tessa, because for those that have seen the TV show, Duncan and Tessa are just crazy about each other. And there was no way I was going to be able to duplicate that on film with anybody else. So I'm like, you have to be Tessa. And we're both very, very invested in the show. We both love.
I have a tattoo from it.
Yeah, we just love the character so much. And so I convinced her to do it, and she was amazing. Yes, this is Shannon's acting debut, and I think she did a fantastic job. And I've convinced her to be in the next Indiana Jones film, too.
Yeah, a bigger part with a lot of words, and I told him not to do that.
Yeah, well, the writing kind of got away from me. Well, it was a really cool character that I came up with. It's like a femme fatale for the next Indiana Jones movie. And she wanted something like very few lines. All she got to do is show up and look pretty and not say a whole
No,
lot of
that is
anything.
not what I said.
Yeah, Hoff is going to play the villain again in that movie, a ex-Nazi extremist, if you will. Give him a little dose of the German accent there.
Das ist sehr gut, ja. That was actually German.
Yeah, but yeah, he's going to play the bad
We
guy
are going
again.
to have such a wonderful time if we do the other movie.
We have a fun time with every one of these. And I don't know what I like better, the memories or the final product, because they're just, they're so good. And when we did the Indiana Jones movie, I was like, you know, we can look back on this 30 years from now and watch this video and be like, yeah, we did that.
And the
And it
Indiana
was
Jones
awesome.
was more of a, we kind of played some funny, hokey, ha pieces in it. It wasn't full serious, just like Indiana Jones. We had Pokemon make a debut in the
And Emotep from The Mummy, that's a great
yeah,
scene.
Emotep, you know. So it wasn't a full serious movie like this one was. We had more of a fun spin on it, which was really fun to do.
Yeah, there were a lot of scenes in this movie where we're like, oh, what if we did that? That'd be funny. What if we did that? That'd be funny. I'm like, this one needs to be serious. We need to keep the mood.
Because
where
we
it's
really
at.
wanted to, you know, talk about the situations in this and, you know, get it out there. And that's why it has the dedication at the end. So hopefully help others who are struggling with abuse to hopefully, you know, be able to get some help.
Yeah, everything behind this movie had to do with domestic abuse, and that's not a laughing matter. And so we tried to
So we
keep
wanted
this
to
very,
keep it
very
very serious.
serious and dedicated, because, I mean, anybody who's ever suffered at the hands of an abusive person can, this movie's just gonna pull your heartstrings, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. And that's kind of, I really wanted an emotional impact from this movie. And if you've seen the series, it's even more so, because you know the story of Duncan and Deborah, and it just really hits you. And then this just deepens that. So if you haven't seen the show, I'm hoping that you still got something out of this. But if you've seen the show, it's a lot more of a...
If you haven't seen the show,
emotional
you should
impact.
try it. It's really good.
It's streaming for free on YouTube and Peacock.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like moral dilemmas in the show, and it really gets you talking. Me and Wes have a lot of like conversations about what would you do in that situation, and it brings up some good talk, like things that, you know, really make you think and could possibly even make you better in your own life. You know, thinking about those things. And
That is my very favorite thing about the show. Duncan MacLeod was Captain America before Captain America was cool.
No.
He's a Captain America character. And you take...
He has flaws, though. He has flaws.
Yeah, but that's another thing that made the writing so good, is he's not a perfect character.
Yep.
He has flaws, he makes mistakes, and he has to learn from those
Yep.
mistakes. But the thing that made the show so great, though, is that you take a very morally sound character and you throw him into a gray area where you're not really sure what's right and what's wrong, and then what do you do in that situation? Kind of like what's up here. It's like, does he help Deborah in spite of, you know, Tessa's concerns, or, you know, what does he do? And that was important to me, because, I mean, I just recently went through something very, very similar to this, where my first love really needed help. And I wanted to help her, and Shannon struggled with
scared.
that, just like Tessa did. And it didn't end up quite as nice as this movie did.
We
But
still helped her, though.
yeah, and we went through it together.
We did a lot of help with her. It's just some people, I guess, just change sometimes, but at least, you know, we feel good that we helped her get, you know, through her situation. So
Yeah, you can't control what other people do, but you can always control yourself, and you can strive to be a good person the very best that you can. And that's what the show's about, which is what made it so good.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of times in the show where Duncan fights somebody who's older or more powerful than him, and he never gives up. He does the right thing no matter what the odds are. I already gave Ryan a nice sermon about that when I presented him with a Batman figure a few months back.
In my office.
Anything else?
Do you have any formal training in film, or were you self-taught and learning through the process while you got into this?
The only training that I've ever had, I actually did this before you showed up because you got here a little bit late, but I watched some, if you know who Anthony DeLongis is, he trained Harrison Ford how to use the whip for King of the Crystal Skull. He trained Michelle Pfeiffer and Catwoman how to use the whip. He's done a ton of sword work. Catwoman?
the movie was Batman.
Yes, but the movie, yeah, Batman Returns is the
Yeah.
movie, yeah.
As Catwoman, yeah.
But anyway, I picked up some VHSs that he released back in the 90s called Rapier for the stage and screen and Broadsword for the stage and screen. And I watched those movies till they wore out. And I learned everything about fight choreography from watching those movies. And Shannon and I actually went and trained with Mr. DeLongis personally
He's a wonderful man.
earlier in 2022. Yeah, him and his wife are
They're
awesome.
lovely.
Anthony, if you're watching, we love you guys. They've got their ranch out in California, and you can go there and visit and get a full day of training. It was pretty awesome. He and I did whip work out in the yard for like 7 hours, and then we got up early the next day and did some sword training. It was pretty cool. It's like, I'm fighting Anthony DeLonges. This is pretty cool.
But when it comes to making movies and editing and stuff like that, acting and all that, we did not have any lessons or anything of that. Pretty much, if with editing, it was like watching YouTube videos on how to do it and stuff. Is how you help taught you?
Yeah, once I'd finished the Indiana Jones movie, I started looking at the great directors out there, and started watching what they did with lighting and camera angles and those sorts of things.
I did have some experience with cameras, though. I had classes in school for photography and stuff, and my father did a lot of camera work professionally, even, wasn't at one time? Because you were paid for my mom's wedding to film it, I believe.
Was I?
Yeah.
Okay.
But him being, that great with photography and stuff, I got into it, and that's why I was the camera person, because I had experience with that, but nothing professionally for me personally. And I love it. I love photography. I love camera work and stuff like that.
Yeah, the final fight between me and Hoff at the end of the movie, I was a little bit worried about how that was going to go, because that was the only sword fight that I couldn't film. All the other ones, I knew exactly what angles I wanted to get and how to make it look good and all this stuff. And the last one, I couldn't shoot because I was in the fight. So I had to rely on Shannon to film that whole thing. So I'm just kind of like, okay, there.
That's what I'm looking for.
And me and Hoff choreographed and shot that in 90 minutes. And Shannon was a big part of that. I'm planning on releasing that footage on YouTube as well, just the entire process of choreographing the fight from beginning to end, and what
Not the
exactly
whole
we had to
90
go through
minutes,
to make
right.
that look as awesome as it did. I wish it was a little bit longer, but I think what we got was pretty spectacular, what you saying?
Yeah.
I did come up with a couple of shots on the montage, the training montage, when they were up and you see the silhouette and the light comes through and does that glare at the end. That was my idea. So, came up with a
It's a
couple.
great shot. And the silhouette shot in the tunnel too was
Yep,
also
that
one
was-
of my favorites. And that music, oh man. I dug that music up off of YouTube. I just looked up some copyright-free music that had bagpipes in it, and that popped up, and it's like, oh, yeah, we're gonna use that. That was awesome.
I'm surprised you didn't know it was Lorena McKenna
What?
for Bonnie Portman. You didn't know that was Lorena, did you?
Of course I did.
No, it was the other one from the movie that you didn't know was Lorena.
No,
That was the one.
I knew that too. Sorry.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't know it was someone else. I told you that.
All right, any more questions?
Well, obviously, you all have a very good eye and idea and passion for it, kind of made you thought of going to school and getting professional at it, because I can see you doing something with this.
No.
I think you could.
That's money we don't have and we don't want to spend.
Yeah, and the odds of making it big in Hollywood, let's be honest, are 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, there are actually some people in Hollywood that already know who I am. I did a whip tutorial training series on my YouTube channel on how to use a bullwhip, step by step on how to, and there are
It's
actually
really
some
good,
people in
too.
Hollywood that have watched it and know me, so that's kind of cool.
Wes, I do think she has a good point.
Just that you never know what the future could hold.
Well, if we ever
Well,
come up with some money. to
I
actually
think
do
my
it.
films are a better resume than anything I could get, in school. I already know how to do all this stuff, so, I mean, a school is not really gonna help me.
I think it's going to stay more of a passion for us.
Yeah, and here's another thing, I didn't mention this earlier, but I believe that in this day and age, that Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. They take IPs that everybody's familiar with, they slap it on a movie, and then they stick political messages in your face at the expense of the story, the characters, and everything that people care about the franchise.
Amen.
When you have control of your own movie from start to finish, yes, it's a fan film. Yes, you have limited budgets, but you are able to tell the story exactly how you want to tell it from the very beginning to the very end without anybody else getting their little grimy hands in it or threatening you with money or anything. I mean, they can't threaten me with money because we don't have any.
And if we had taken this movie to Hollywood, once it was actually made, it would probably be like a tenth of actually what he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause they just change everything.
Yeah,
There
and that-
probably would have been a talking dog
And that's kind of the price you gotta pay to you know, do a Hollywood film. That's why George Lucas wanted creative freedom after Star Wars, because he didn't want people meddling in his films anymore. And he got it, because he was lucky and made a mint off that movie. But we're not going to be that fortunate. But if Hollywood ever comes knocking, that's going to be in the contract.
There are alternatives these days to Hollywood. There is a very particular company called Legion M that would be right up your alley that I need to tell you about and we need to do some.
Huh,
Well, we can talk later then.
okay.
I think it would be a good mesh with your style and they work with independent filmmakers.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be all for that.
Very cool company.
But I mean, this movie is a great resume for that sort of thing.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, see, there are avenues, I promise.
But we still want time, you know, to,
Budget.
we still want time to like live our lives and be together and spend time with each
Yeah.
other.
I mean, my dream is to be able to do this full time. I would love to get to the point where my YouTube channel is making enough money where we can just do this every day. I think that'd be awesome.
Not necessarily make movies, but make, you know, clips and
Content, yeah.
content, you know, for our YouTube channel.
Maybe even little shorts, you know.
Yep, that's
Yeah, that's what's coming up next, is some Resident Evil shorts.
Yeah, because it'd be also easier to, you know, do that and not have to rely on too many people and so many days and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
There's another little clip on my YouTube channel. Damani came to me last year and said, I need some fight choreography and I need it next week. And I'm like, say what now? So we went out to the parking lot with a couple of swords and we choreographed and shot and edited a fight scene in 6 hours. And that was a ton of work. And that actually came out pretty good for
For
you
what
know,
it is, for being 6 hours.
The
It was-
limited time that we
yeah.
had, but I was actually pretty proud of what we were able
Yeah.
to accomplish that day.
That was pretty darn good for 6 hours.
Yeah. The way we got away with that was we used metal swords when we fought each other. So
We
I
didn't have to edit
I
the
didn't have to
sound
add
effects.
in all the clangs of the swords hitting each other. So all I had to do was go home, get the right angles, and throw some music in there, and bada bing, bada boom, it was done.
It wasn't anything like professional or anything.
Yeah, but it was an adventure,
It was an
and we
adventure.
have a nice memory of that.
Yes, oh yes.
But I mean, that's the gift that keeps on giving is just,
Especially when you can work
Memories.
with your friends. It's,
and even when Shannon and I were watching the movie just now, she's like, oh, remember when that happened? Oh, remember when that happened? And it's like, that's the gift that this sort of thing gives back to us.
we're thinking about doing a commentary version of the movie where we play the movie and we're sitting there and we can actually talk about scenes and stuff and maybe even pause at certain
Director's
times to,
commentary.
you know, do a commentary for the movie. We're thinking about possibly doing that because there's just so much stuff that happened that we didn't get on film that's just great, or how we did something in the film, or how we worked something out, and we just thought that might be something people might want to watch.
Anything else? All right, well, I really, really appreciate all you being here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yes,
That
thank
means-
you
It
so
means
much.
so much to me that you guys came and shared this experience with
We
us
were worried
today.
only the cast would show up, and
That's kind of how I was thinking. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have like 8 people at this thing, and that's gonna be it. And I mean, just even the excitement over the movie posters just kind of blew me away. And the fact that you guys wanted us to sign it and everything, it's like, yeah,
you just
it,
feel really
it gave
good.
me the warm fuzzies. So,
We're here for you, buddy.
We're really sorry
Thank you.
that part of the cast was not able to be here because of the stolen car. Our prayers are with them that they get that taken care of.
yeah, Brandy and Anthony got their car stolen right before they were supposed to leave for this thing. And they actually saw the guy drive away in it, which is even more aggravating. But that's why they're not here. So, yeah, any prayers for them tonight would be appreciated.
And maybe someday we can, get posters signed if anybody wants the other couple of signed signatures on it.
Post your signature online and then you can Photoshop it on.
That's not worth as much of a
Well, I really appreciate all you coming, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
You had his freaking phone number. No way, does Devontae have his phone number? And I called him and he answered the phone. I'm like, I was so starstruck I didn't even know what to say.
I am.
Oh yeah, we had a guy like that, the Adrian Paul surgery. The other violence or something. Yeah, he wanted us to get involved in that. It's like everybody wants to be involved in something. They got so much time. Oh, I feel
Wesley? Wes? James is leaving.
1 second, don't leave yet. Oh yeah, it'd probably be good to shut the camera off. Yeah.